it's kind of remarkable the turnaround we've seen when it comes to the Palworld lawsuit. First, Nintendo was not going to file their lawsuit. And then Nintendo was not going to have the patents approved in the US. And now we're in this weird position where people genuinely think Palworld is going to blow up and become this huge IP after the early access period ends and once the new spin-off game comes out, when it couldn't be more obvious that this brand has no future, that this company is completely screwed, and there's no real getting around that. And I think the most blatant example of this is the reception to Pocket Pair's Farming Simulator. I don't know the name because I don't care. Like, this was clearly like something that was slapped together to try and grift off of the farming sim thing. This is something that was announced to kind of supplant Pokepia, right? This is something that is meant to get the PC gamers up in arms, like trying to tell you that this game is going to be way better than what Nintendo puts out. And of course, it's the same thing we always see, right? It is basically the Pokemon equivalent of those Unreal Engine 5 videos of Mario running in a field, right? That's kind of like Nintendo hire this man the game. Essentially, that's kind of what we see with Palworld, because people don't like the game because they think it's fun or it's interesting or it has all these interesting mechanics. They like it because it's cheap, sloppish, just ridiculous, subversive, anti-Nintendo, just nonsense. Like, nobody actually likes Palworld for Palworld, you know? Like, people like it because of some weird hate boner they have for Pokemon. And that's why this farming simulator has no momentum, right? Nobody's looking at this and saying it looks like a well-made farming sim, that it looks like it has interesting mechanics, that they can't wait to see their pals in action. Like, no, like, people see this and they immediately start complaining about Pokemon. And this is the reality of the Palworld thing. This is the reality of everything we've seen up to this point, is that Palworld is being put on a pedestal by PC gamers who are desperate to try and get some kind of W against Nintendo, and will go to whatever lengths they can to prop up like these glitchy, unfinished messes. And I really had to emphasize, like, at this point, Palworld has still not left early access. Like, there is no fully featured full release of Palworld, and yet here they are releasing another game that's just aping off the Harvest Moon thing, right? Like, again, they're probably ripping off different companies with this release. There's no way to tell until like it actually comes out and we see the mechanics and how they function and all that. But it does need to be explained more that this is not a studio with a bright future ahead of it. Like, you cannot build your entire brand around like ripping off Nintendo products and then like expect people to be enthusiastic about you or want to play your games. And you can already kind of see this with Palworld itself, like where it had a massive dip after its initial wave of popularity, of people just hyping it up because like of trying to get one up over Nintendo. And it really needs to stop. I am tired of seeing these YouTubers try and glaze these games to try and keep them relevant, because Pokepia is a game that hasn't come out yet. We don't know anything about it. It's coming from the Dragon Quest Builders team, I think. So they have like a lot of real credibility to them. Like, this is like the best looking Pokemon spinoff we have seen in years. And yet, not being made by Game Freak, by the way. So you have like, all the reason in the world to assume that Pokepia is going to be this good, interesting, unique farming sim. But do any of these people notice or care? Like, no. Like, all they care about is continuing this farce of pretending as if Palworld is this huge, huge deal, that it's competing with Pokemon, that Nintendo is scared of it, when in reality that isn't true at all. Like, how many Pokemon games have we gotten in between the release of Palworld's early access demo and up until now. How many Pokemon products have come out, been announced? I remember being shocked when Pokemon Day happened immediately after Power World, and how it felt as if nobody actually cared about Power World at all. The Power World fans are like, well, not really fans. The Pokemon haters are constantly like running their mouths about how Pokemon is a dead IP and how it's on the way out and how everyone hates it. And yet, in reality, you have this very vibrant fan culture of just like insane things happen all the time. Like this is an IP that's so big that they showed off a giant monitor showing off like the TCG tournament stuff where you could like see play by play on like a huge like display, and like people got hyped for that. Like people, like these people don't really understand how big Pokemon is. You can cry about mainline games all you want, but first of all, Power World is not competing with mainline games, and second of all, like the mainline games aren't all that Pokemon puts out. Like it is just a farce. And it has been from the onset. And it's so embarrassing how every time Power World tries to make a new announcement and tries to stay relevant, and that's another thing that's happened. The concern trolling. Because this happened when the game first came out too, and I do think it needs to be pointed out. Like Power World fans do this weird thing where they like pretend to be Pokemon fans on social media and start spurging out about ridiculous nonsense. Like you had that really early example of that guy who claimed that he had discovered that Power World had stolen Pokemon assets and could prove it, and then he backtracked and tried to say that he made the entire thing up. Like, and for a long while after that, that was evidence that Power World did not actually plagiarize Pokemon. It was like this weird like attempt at like trying to gaslight people into thinking that Power World did not plagiarize Pokemon's designs. It was one of the most transparent, just bitch made moves I've ever seen in the gaming community. I would put this up there with like the Undertale hype cycle, honestly, with just how retarded it was. And just like throwing this game everywhere, trying to make it popular. And it didn't really work. At this stage, Power World just feels like it's this stillborn IP where it's only being talked about because of the Pokemon allegations. And once all of that falls through, the game simply just isn't going to have any momentum going forward because nobody plays these games. Nobody talks about these games. Nobody cares about these games. Like these are just a knockoff product that people are only hyping up to try and ruin the Pokemon IP. So what's going to happen with Pal Farm? Well, this is going to be a game that's going to be eclipsed in relevancy by all the other farming sims on the market. Pokepia is going to outperform it. There's just not really any real momentum behind the Power World IP. And what's more, like looking at this trailer, looking at what they're doing, I don't think there actually is a Pal Farm. I think they slapped together this trailer, just to try and antagonize Nintendo fans, and that they're gonna put together like this unfinished early access game in about a year or so. Because the timing of this is just oddly coincidental. Like considering they announced it just after Nintendo announced their Pokemon farming sim. So, like to me, I do think that this is like Pocket Pair's business model is just plagiarize everything and just keep things as cheap and like as sterile as possible. And that's kind of their mindset. That's kind of like the way they go about things. And I do think people do need to start calling them out for it because like this is going to be the same deal with Power World, where the game will just have no content, it'll have no features, everything will be based around like plagiarized assets from other video games, Breath of the Wild, Pokemon, like the list goes on and on. Like, and it does need to be addressed that like this is not acceptable, and there do need to be more protections against it. If anything, people like keep talking about the patent system. I think we're going to need like, a more thorough system where like something like this couldn't even like get past the planning stage, honestly. Like this just wasn't a good idea to begin with. And Pocket Pair is going to fail to keep themselves afloat after the lawsuit goes through. Yeah, I've said this several times, but the lawsuit is going to result in Nintendo being granted an injunction against Palworld, against that specific brand, and suddenly they will just have nothing to their name, and they'll keep doing what they've been doing, but like the entire business just will not be able to stay afloat. So they are completely doomed at this point, but like the entire gaming community is just like plugging their ears and just refusing to face reality because it flies in the face of everything they believe about Nintendo, about Pokemon, about like this specific title. Like this is something that the gaming community does not want to admit, that Power World is a complete failure.